Howdy folks, it's Adler the Hunting Gear Guy. Today I want to show you guys this Adler A110. This is a lever or lever action shotgun. I don't know which I'll use today, but it's a lever action shotgun out of Turkey, and it's kind of neat. This particular version takes 7 in the tube, and it's got a 20-inch barrel. So let's get a little bit closer and take a look at how this thing works. Now, just before I get into showing you guys all the things about this shotgun, I'll just safety check it to make sure that it is empty. I've confirmed there's nothing in the chamber, there's nothing in the tube there. So let's start at the rear. Now, right at the back here we have this ventilated butt pad. It's a little bit rough looking on the outside here, as you can see there, but it does do what it's supposed to do. The stock is a lot nicer than the butt pad. You can see here that we have this nice Turkish walnut, I guess. Hey, if it's from Turkey, they're going to use Turkish walnut, right? We've got this checkering up front here as well. Again, this is something that's a little bit rare to see on guns these days because there's a lot more firearms that are going to synthetic, and so it's kind of nice to see checkering like this. A little bit closer to the front here, we've got this lever. I'm just going to get to this in a minute, but for now, let's look at this safety here. And if you'll notice that this little operating bar here, it actually gets stopped when the safety's in place there. You can kind of see the safety where it's poking out there. Now this won't actually come out, so it'll only really come out when you've got that safety on there. So the safety effectively locks the action in place, which is kind of cool. And again, simple crossbolt safety. There's our fire indicator and there's our safe indicator. So very straightforward kind of a thing. Just a little bit closer to the front here, we have this loading gate. It's pretty standard as if you've used a pump shotgun or a semi-auto. Very easy to use. There is one thing that can get you in trouble with this shotgun, and that's that if you don't click it past the shell retention and you just get it past the loading gate, what'll happen, let's see if I can get it to do it here. There we go. You can see there that shell is still sticking out. Let me just get that loading gate up. You can see that shell just kind of sits on the loading gate there, and now we can't actually get any more shells in. So this is more of just a user beware kind of a thing. If you're going to be using a shotgun like this, make sure you get that shell all the way in. Now that I have that dummy shell in, let's operate this. I'm going to operate this separately from on the table here, just because it's a little bit awkward for me to do, and it's going to look a little bit herky-jerky when I do it here. But there's my dummy shell going in. And the trigger pull on this thing is short with just a little bit of creep, but is not bad at all, especially for a shotgun. Let me use my left hand so you guys can see. And I'm pulling back. Just a little bit of creep there. Now, as to other features on the front here, or the receiver of the action, we do have this 3/8 dovetail milled along the top here. If you were looking to put an optic or something like that on here, I would really recommend one of those Picatinny rails that has a really long bearing surface, because a 3/8 dovetail isn't really that great of a mounting rail for a shotgun. Shotguns recoil quite heavily. I wouldn't really want anything too light on here. So if you do end up putting one of the something on here, make sure it's one of those full-length Picatinny rails. Now, as we get further forward on this shotgun, we can see again this forend with walnut stock, very nice checkering on here, at least for the price point. A free swiveling kind of swivel for a front swivel there, and what looks to be an extension here that's actually more of a cap and a nut system. So we'll go over that in a minute. We've got a bead up on the front here. Let's just get in nice and close on that guy. We've got a bead up at the front here, but because it doesn't really have any color on the back here, if you really wanted to make this easier to pick out, you might want to choose a paint of your choosing, just something to add a little bit of light to it to make it easier to pick out. Now, if you just got yours, you might notice something, and that's when you start putting shells into this thing. There's 1, there's 2, and number 3 won't go in. And that's because, it's not a 2-round shotgun. This thing actually has a plug in it for hunting, so that you can just have 2 in the magazine tube. Let's go over how to pull that guy out. Now you notice that the tube has this little plastic guy in here. Now it actually has a couple of dog ears that kind of hold it in. There's a little bit of a rim on the edge of this tube here. So to get it out, we're going to push something in there, tilt this little plastic capture guy, and then pull it right out of there. You can see it'll almost want to come out right now, but I'll need to take it off camera just to pull it off. Now here's that part, and you can kind of see these dog ears on both sides. Those just hold against that inner part of that tube. And behind the tube, what you'll find is this really, really long plunger that acts as our stop. That's going to keep us to 2 rounds to reinstall the plug. And again, the plug underneath is captured in there, so we don't have to take it out. All we need to do is pop our little capture ring back on. There we go. It's back in. With the plunger out, we can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shells into that tube. That makes for a lot of shells in a lever action shotgun. So that was just a really quick overview of this Adler Arms A110 shotgun. This thing actually ended up being kind of interesting to shoot at the range. I tried it at the shooting clays and that kind of thing, and it was actually a lot of fun because you could shoot a couple of clays, take it down, I load weekend, and load a couple of shells in there really quick and keep shooting. And because we had this 7-round tube, it was never coming up empty. And the great thing about that is, I don't know how you guys shoot clays out there, but with me, if I go out with a couple of my buddies, we're all throwing, and there'll be 2 people shooting, maybe 1 person throwing, and whoever breaks the clays is whoever breaks the clays. So you kind of need to keep your shotgun fed up and ready to roll. And this one was very easy to do that just because of this really long extension tube with a lot of shell capacity, and because it was so fast firing, it was actually a lot of fun breaking clays with it. Now some people out there have their shotguns are a little bit rough on their hands. They're maybe not quite as smooth when they're pumping it, and this one I found was plenty smooth enough. But if I was to shoot like 100 shells at the range, busting some clays or something like that, I would advise running mechanics gloves or something like that in your right hand. And that's going to be the same with pretty much any lever action rifle or shotgun. If you're going to be wailing away at it a whole bunch, yeah, you're going to want to wear like a glove or something like that, because this is steel and it's going to work against your hands. It's not sharp or anything, it's just you'll be using your knuckles a lot and you're basically beating them against this metal here. So, you know, I think this one's plenty smooth enough. I've fired about 200 shotgun shells through it, so hasn't hurt me. By the way, that little snap that you heard at the end there, so it'll pull up to here, and it'll still fire safely in this spot. But if you really want to, you can kind of snap it in just to hold it a little bit tighter. I found that when I was just shooting clays, I would just pull it up there and not snap it in that little bit more. Let's get into disassembly. Now we're going to start on the forend here. This nut and this extension tube, well, what looks like a nut and extension tube, it's actually just this little nut here. It's got a lot of threads, and it just kind of comes off there. There's that nut. Now our barrel is kind of ready to come off. Let me just zoom you out. This is actually the second time I've shot this video, and it's somewhat difficult to show you guys what this looks like on video, but I'm just gonna open up my chamber there and pull my barrel and forend off at the same time. At this point, you can remove the forend from the barrel by pulling up at the rear, sorry, right there, and then kind of slide it off. That's because this front metal piece here actually fits into the wood right there. Now when you're going to put it back together, put your forend on kind of at the front first and then tip it up at the back second. And you're going to have to put it on, back together as one piece. You can't have the barrel and the forend separate. So when we're popping them back together, I'm just going to throw that tube in there. Carefully slot them together. There we go. I can just hear it snapping a little bit there. And then take that retaining nut. And slide it back on. Now for accessories, this shotgun also comes with 4 chokes. One's already in the shotgun and 3 are here. There's our key for getting our shotgun chokes out. And you can see on these little guys, there's actually these little dimples on it that kind of tell you which one they are, whether they're improved or modified or whatnot. So just check out the manual and it'll tell you which one corresponds to which. But I think it's kind of cool that this one comes with 4 chokes already. So I don't know if that convinced you or didn't convince you to get a lever action shotgun, but there's not really a lot of competition to these things out there. There are variants of the Winchester, oh boy, 1897 I think it is. Regardless, there's Chiappa does one of those, Norinco does one of those, and then there are also the older Winchester copies. But this is a more modern look to it with a nice long extension tube on here. So if you really wanted to shoot 3-gun but your left hand was maybe not all that great, this would be a better shotgun for you because all your action's with your right hand. It might not be a bad shotgun to take along in a quad because it is mostly smooth on the forend here and it does carry so many shells. And it is fairly fast shooting. It's not as fast shooting as a semi, obviously, or as a pump action shotgun, but it's also not very slow either. It's nice. It's got a pretty quick run on it. It's definitely not as bad as the Savage bolt action shotguns, I can tell you that much. But it's kind of an interesting shotgun. I think if you're really into the lever action shotguns, rifles, that kind of thing, this might be something that you'd be already looking at. And from my experience, it was really fun to shoot and kind of a really unique shotgun to have. So for some of you, that might be why you're looking at this shotgun, and for that, I think it's pretty cool. I wanted to thank Tactical Imports for loaning me this shotgun just to try out and test, and I thought it was pretty cool. Thanks.